Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of FS-360 Podsession. On today's show, we have Ted George, Chief Narrative Officer at Cloud Advisory. We'll be discussing how COVID-19 is accelerating Africa's digital transformation beyond the point of no return. I hope you enjoy another very insightful chat with my good friend Ted. Hello Ted, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, George. It's really good to finally get to chat again.
George, I like that. You're calling me George. That's good. So how are you feeling today, my friend?
Feeling good, I must say. I mean, here we are. We're in H2 of the year, and I actually feel like there's a pulse back in my business. And I've noticed that with other people as well. It doesn't mean we're out of the woods, but people are getting on with stuff, and that goes for you and me right now.
That's good. So Ted, for those who don't know, you were the first guest ever in our FS-360 videos. And in my opinion, although I'm super biased on this, right? But in my opinion, that was a classic interview. Not because of my performance as a host, because that was the first one as well, right? But because of the level of quality of the storytelling and the insights you brought to the table. It's not a coincidence that you call yourself a Chief Narrative Officer, right?
When I set up my company, I thought, well, what is it I really want to, what am I all about? And I mean, my mother said to me from when I was a kid, you tell very good stories, Ted. And the reality is actually, it is all about the narrative. And so for me, ultimately, all of the work I do does really come down to kind of Chief Narrative Officer. It's like helping you get the story right. And that is not simple. To come up with a clear through line, that kind of golden thread that holds it together. I guess that's what I'm trying to do as CNO.
So you've just released a new article on how COVID-19 is accelerating Africa's digital transformation beyond the point of no return, right? So in my opinion, that's a very strong article. That's a very good one. So congratulations for that, okay? Let's start breaking it down. One of the reasons fintech has been so rapidly and successfully adopted in Africa is because there's no alternative. Do you think that mobile banking is creating that alternative?
Absolutely. And I think basically it's remarkable what they've managed to overcome in terms of blockages when what you can do with a mobile phone. If you take most Africans, few of them have access to a bank. And even if you could get into a bank, you need to have things like a proper address, an official identity. Often you need collateral, a credit history. For many people, they don't have that. And so they are unbankable. But you put a mobile phone in someone's hand, the moment they pay for the first credit to upload it, that's the beginning of your credit history. And as soon as you have some transactions on there, then they can actually start lending against it. We already see that, for example, with Mshwari in Kenya. By 3 months on of you just putting a small amount of money into your phone to use for credit, they will give you that money at the beginning of the month as a loan, a micro loan, and you have to pay it off within a short period of time. So there's a natural conveyor belt onto the digital world, and it is brought by the mobile phone. And essentially, you can do anything in terms of financial services, even to the point of things like micro insurance, very effectively using mobiles, where if you do it with paper, it simply wouldn't be viable.
Yeah, and 10% of Africans have access to mobile banking, right? Which is the highest rate on the planet. That explains it, right? Well, what you just said, right?
Right. I mean, you could say mobile banking is an African product.
Yeah.
Over half of the...
You said it last year in our interview. You said it last year. So that's a classic line. You said it.
But I think it is, because also, if you think about it, somewhere like the UK, actually, most people don't really know what you mean by mobile banking, because in the UK, that means using your app, right, for your bank account, right? This is different. This is using balances on your telco or some other kind of thing. So absolutely. I mean, the fact that most active wallets in the world are in Africa, it shows that it's really taken off.
And how is this COVID-19 pandemic accelerating the digital shift in Africa, Ted?
I think what's happening in Africa is it's really kind of turbocharging a digitalization that is already underway. We are, very close to most people having mobile phones and 3G. And I think what it is it's forcing a lot of people to recognize that the real barrier to digital adoption is in the head. It is people actually starting to do this stuff. And I've seen it from top to bottom. It might be market traders, it might be taxi drivers who finally have got onto that WhatsApp group, right? And they're actually on the WhatsApp group and doing their business. It might be some of these businessmen who you could never get on a Zoom call. And suddenly, after going through 1 or 2 problems, they're finally using Zoom properly. So once you adopt that kind of thing, you don't turn back.
Yeah, but for all these services, of course, you need power, right? And roughly 600 million African live in off-grid communities with no access at all to electricity. What is the role of solar and fintech in supporting this digital shift, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's kind of crucial and fundamental. If you look at what is going to be the workhorse of this digital revolution, it's the mobile phone and to a lesser extent the television. They need power to run. And the trouble is, having a mobile phone for many people is very often this choice about, do I use it now because the battery is going to run out? You might have to travel for 2 or 3 hours to the nearest town, and you have to recharge, and then you have to wait while it's recharging. That kind of lost business is enormous. So the ability to just recharge your phone in your own home changes the way that you can operate as an SME. And the thing is, it's actually kind of price neutral. So I think what is really interesting about this combination of solar and fintech is it's ideal for that part of African society, a huge one, which will never be connected to the grid. It's not that solar is going to replace grid power or going to replace generators, but it's actually going to serve people who will never get onto it. If you can recharge your phone, you not only have access to education and health, you can run your business.
So Ted, is COVID-19 pushing Africa beyond the digital tipping point?
Yes. And I think it's important to say here that the word tipping point is very overused. I've heard it so many times. Africa's at a tipping point, Asia's at a tipping point. What do we mean? What I would like to say now is we are literally at the tipping point, statistically. So last year, GSMA estimated that around 40% of Africans have a mobile phone. And that goes for all Africans, including areas with no signal. You know that in cities, it's often 100% or more because people have multiple SIMs. They also reckoned around 45% of people had a smartphone, and again, around 45% had access to 3G. They anticipated all of these numbers would go over 50% in 2025, before COVID-19. But now COVID is in full swing, and it is turbocharging this digitalization. I expect that in the next year or so, we will pass that tipping point. And it's only going to get more and more fast. As we get into the late majority and the laggards who are dragged in, it speeds up because essentially more and more people are using it. You have to use this system if you want to make a payment or if you want to be involved in the economy. So I'm expecting that by the time we get to the end of this wave of the COVID crisis, 1 year, 2 year, Africa will be completely different. It will be digital. And we will have gone far beyond the point of no return. And it's a question of saying, how do we bring on the laggards? Not, we have a minority of people who are digital at the moment.
So you strongly believe that there's no turning back?
No, I think there's no turning back. Look, the reality is when you find a new way of doing something, it might take you a while to learn how to do it. But once you see it's more efficient, you never want to go back. I think many people have said things about COVID coming in and destroying the economy, destroying our way of life. But it's also embedding the digital economy in Africa. And I think at the end of this, we're going to be in a very different world where the majority of Africans are digital and they can really engage in the global digital economy.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, my friend Ted. Thank you so much for another very insightful session, right? Today is a special day. We know why. We don't need to say on camera, but we know that today is a very special day. We have reasons to celebrate, right? And the most beautiful thing, Ted, is I'm very proud of this, is since we did the video last year, we were able to build this friendship, right? We've been having a lot of conversation. We've been sharing a lot of things, a lot of experiences. And that's a very powerful thing. And I believe that everything happens for a reason, right? And I believe that we did that interview last year for a reason. And most importantly, I'm looking forward to what we're going to build moving forward. Right?
Absolutely fine. I'm looking forward to getting into what we can do Lusophone as well. It's going to be very interesting.
You know, we're cooking something, right? You know, we're cooking something on that, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. It was incredible. Okay.
That's great. Always great to be recorded. I look forward to the next one in due course. 3rd of July, that can be our anniversary.
That's good. Thank you, my friend. Okay.
Pleasure.
Take care.